Hi, Ipsita, Shravani. Good morning. Yeah. Just give me a minute. We'll start the session. Sorry for the delay. Actually, I have some audio problem with my laptop. So I have switched to different laptop. Let us log into AWS console first. And here, yeah. Okay. Here, we are talking about AWS Kinesis, right? Analytic services, and we have also talked about Athena. Athena is nothing but it's an analytical service, we can say, where you can query data directly from S3 bucket. So you can convert the data from S3 into tabular format and you can query from the table. So we have talked about Kinesis, and we also have QuickSights here. QuickSights is business intelligence tool. Let's go here. I don't have a QuickSights account yet, so let's say sign up for QuickSight. Sign up. It is a standard and it is free for 60 days. Enterprise is also the same thing, free for 60 days. You can choose anyone. Let's go for enterprise. But after that, when you use QuickSights, so this is the month or pay per session. So this is not applicable for session, whereas this one applies twice per month. Let's say continue. And authentication method, use IAM federated identities or QuickSight managed users. So let us keep it like that only. Either you should be a like QuickSight managed user or IAM identity. We are allowing both. Or active directories. We already talked, right? We can create active directory, and using that active directory credentials, you can add QuickSights, enter into the QuickSights. Enter the region. Let us choose Mumbai as a region. Making change will okay. And QuickSight account information. Let's say 360 digit MG account. Notification email. Please ensure right Amazon S3 buckets are also enabled. We will skip this, we will do it later. And finish. So we have Power BI, Tableau, like these are what visualization tools, or we call them as business intelligence tools. You can create real-time dashboards or reports, visualize your data, and these visualizations will bring some insights, right, from the data. Go to Amazon QuickSight. Amazon QuickSight is also a visualization tool, business intelligence tool, or what we call it. Welcome to QuickSight. So here you can upload your .csv files, JSON files, and you can look into the visualizations, web and social media analysis. So this is sample data set. You can create visualization like this. And if you want to upload your own data, click on add. Not add. Let's go back. Here, analysis, create new analysis. And let's say new data set. And before that, let me create that data set. I'll go to S3. This one.csv is there. Let us look into this, make this public or download. Open. Some field one. Okay, only one. We have a time. Let's call it as timestamp. Edit this document. and entry IDs, of course, and some field numbers. And all field numbers are same, 30, 31, 32. Let us add one more field 2 here. So let us enter some random numbers, or let me check, do I have any .csv files here? So let us use this one only. We don't have. I'll enter some random numbers. Then, so just because we have only one field, we have added one more field. Save and go here. And create one S3 bucket. Create a bucket. Let us call it as QuickSight S3 or QuickSight demo bucket. Yes, it has to be both the QuickSight account and this has to be in the same region. You can switch in between the regions, but QuickSight is not available in all the regions. So you have, while creating the bucket, you should consider that. See here, QuickSight regions. So these are the regions. You can switch between these regions and the location where data is coming. It can be S3 or Redshift, RDS, anything. Anyway, RDS, these things, databases or regional services. If you take S3, even though S3 is global, it has to be in the same region. Both QuickSights and S3 has to be in the same region, operate in same region. Let's go to S3 bucket. And that's it. Enable bucket versioning. Create bucket. QuickSight demo bucket upload. .csv file. .csv file has been uploaded here. Now this is going to be our data set. Create a data set S3. And here it asks us to provide a manifest file. First, let us give the S3 data source name. This is S3 data source. and manifest file. And manifest file will give you the information. It is a JSON document, gives the information about the S3 bucket. Manifest file examples for QuickSight. So the following example uses Amazon Redshift, and the following example uses Amazon Redshift format for .csv file. This is for .tsv file, and we are going to add it from S3 bucket itself. So let us copy this, copy, and put it here. Let us do this. Or I can go here. Visual Studio is also there. File, new file, put it here. And then here we can add our HTTP. If there is .json file or .csv file, we can add here. So this is .csv file. This is for TSV format. Let us copy this. And you can open your text document and copy paste this format here. And where you can find this format, here in the QuickSight itself, there is a URL. Click on that URL. Here you will find all these templates, supported JSON formats, supported manifest JSON formats. So copy the first one, and you can open your text edit or any editor like this, like Visual Studio Editor, or you just plain text editor is also fine. Come here, and here it's giving asking URI prefixes. We don't have delimiters, text qualifiers, all these things. If you have any comma, suppose if the format is JSON format, the values are separated with if there are any commas or quotation marks, such things, then you need to add delimiter text qualifier. For us, no need. Just we say that format is CSV. And then we have only one S3 bucket, and it has only one data object CSV file. So no need, either you can use URI prefixes or URIs. So let's go and check here once. URI formats has to be like this. We are giving the bucket name and the file name, or you can just give the bucket name. And these are URI prefix formats. So now what we will do, we will copy this one. Or what we can do, we can go to quick sites bucket and go to Amazon S3, select quick sites, copy ARN, let us use this URI prefix. Let us check the format. I think this format is not there, ARN format. Not ARN, sorry. Go here, not copy ARN, copy URI will be there. Copy S3 URI or copy URL. You can use any one. Copy URI, S3 URI. Okay, done. So save it. And the name has to be manifest only. It has to be manifest.json. Save as, it's not asking me the name. No problem. Let us edit here. Manifest.json. Save. Okay, that's it. Our JSON is ready. JSON file. Let's go. Let me check this. Here, upload, not upload, manifest file, quick sites. Yeah, new data set, right? We need to provide manifest file now. Either you can give S3 URL, upload this manifest file in any S3 bucket and give the S3 or object URL, not S3 URL, object URL. Or you can upload from the laptop itself. Say connect, browse, manifest.json, open. So let us manage Amazon quick sites permissions. Close this. And here we can change settings. Manage quick sites, not settings, manage quick sites. And here we have security and permissions. Go here. So that's why the problem right now we have only four services. Four services have granted permission. Amazon Redshift, which is a data lake. Amazon RDS, we know it's a database, relational database, IAM, and Amazon Athena. So these services have permissions to access quick sites. Let us add or remove. Go here and choose S3 also, Amazon S3. Now it's asking me to choose the bucket. Let us choose quick sites demo bucket and finish. Update. Let us cross check. Yes, Amazon S3 is there now. Now let us go to QuickSight's homepage. Just click on this. Now, new analysis, new data set, and our data set is coming S3, and you can use all these things. You can push in data from GitHub, Adobe Analytics, Spark, SQL servers, RDSs, all these things. Or you can directly upload a file also. .csv, .tsv, with all these extension, .json files you can directly upload, or these are all the sources. So let us say this is our bucket and upload manifest file. Connect. Yes, it has connected. Visualize. We have two fields, entry ID, timestamp. Right, that's what I have here. Field 1, field 2, entry ID, timestamp. It's a visualization tool. Let's go here. There's no data found. Entry ID. And we can also directly upload .csv files. New data set and upload a file. Let's say no data is found. You can try with your local data if you have any .csv file, or download any .csv, .json data sets, and you can try. It will visualize like how We have some sample data sets in .csv, quick sites, demo bucket analysis. And then these are sample data sets. You can analyze like this, various visualizations. And how you can bring data into quick sites, all these are the sources. New data set. From all these services, you can bring in data and to QuickSight. So if you want real-time data, real-time streaming data, then you can use Kinesis. You can stream data into S3 and make S3 as a data set here. Okay, and let's go. And in yesterday's class, we have also talked about, let's go here, buckets. Data migration, right? Database migration, let us say migration hub. AWS migration hub. Let's say to Sydney. Yeah, here you can start discovery and get started migrating. And where if you have local servers, you can migrate them to EC2 instances, convert them image and write them to EC2 instances. Servers, applications, data collectors. So what are data collectors? So it checks whether there is any data. By using data sync, you can send the data. So accelerate migrate planning by quickly getting you to state where the applications in your portfolio and can begin migrating. Is it suitable for migrating or not? That is the first step. Discover and then assess, get EC2 instance recommendations. And here we will see how to migrate and like a local virtual machine. Suppose I have a VM machine running on my local desktop. We will see how we can convert into image and write here into the AWS. I am downloading this VM box, virtual box. Let me check whether it's complete or not. So there was a problem. I'm downloading this bundle, retry. Okay, we will talk about this later. Maybe in Monday's class, we will talk about this one. That is migration services. And apart from migration services, we need to discuss about few topics in AWS console. Let me go to services. Under the security, identity and compliance, you can see IAM. We know about IAM. You can create users, policies, and you can group users. We have roles, and these roles are for services and also for other accounts. If we want to provide access to our account, you can use IAM roles. We have talked about federation, SAML identities you can bring in there in IAM. We talked about all these things. So using that federation SAML 2.0, what you can do, you can club multiple AWS accounts and provide one identity. On creating users, policies, assigning permissions to them, programmatic access, console access. We talked about this in IAM. And yes, IAM is fine. It gives access to people. It gives access to people from other AWS accounts. Yes, it's fine. You can create users. Now, if I want to create a application and I want to provide access to only few other applications, not users, not people. So I want to give access to other applications. Say for example, in my web application, there is a registration form. You go to 360digitmg.com. So let's say I'm building a web page like this. Now I need to provide access to some third-party applications for this web application. That means I should allow access to some services. In which scenarios I need to do this? Let's say courses, cloud computing. Okay, or here itself, no need to go to a different page. So here itself, there is a registration. I have to provide name, phone number, email, and all these things. Then if I am a registered user with 360 digit MG, then I can enroll, I can access some services. These services, let's say they are part of EC2 instance. Server is running on EC2 instance. For corporate. So here we don't have an option of Google or Facebook. In some online registration forms, you'll find this option. You can use Google sign in or Facebook sign in, right? So now this Google, Facebook, these are third-party applications. Now you are accessing these third-party applications, and these applications also need to access our web application. Our web application is 360 Digit MG, and we should provide access to third-party web applications for signing, for other purpose also. If you want to book a ticket, Emirates is, say for example, actually the airways name is Emirates, but you are booking a ticket from some other travel site. So Emirates has to get that information and book a ticket for you behalf of that travel site. Then this third party application, the travel site, whatever you're using, it should be able to access Emirates. Of course, in the backend, you can make API calls, especially for these kind of applications, register forms. These days, we have this in, sign in option, sign in with Google, sign in with Facebook, right? So these things, suppose in my web application, I have to provide this sign in Google or sign in Facebook, means I should provide access to Google or Facebook. Then how I can provide access to such third party applications and also other applications. Let's go here. Here under security, identity and compliance, we have Cognito service, AWS Cognito. And here you can see two things, manage user pools, manage identity pools. Let us talk about user pools. User pools, see just now we have took this example. I want to give access to certain courses. I want to give access to certain services for only registered users who have registered with 360 DigitalG portal. I need to add those identities and provide some special service access to those people. Regular users can look into the web page. They can toggle between the various options. They can explore, but their access is restricted because they are not all the users are not registered users. So to allow that access after registration, what we can do, suppose server, this web application is running on AWS. Now after registration, we need to grant certain users letting into our web application. Then you can create user pools. User pools are nothing but directories where list of users will be there. Registered users list. Yes, you can do the same thing using APIs, and a lot of libraries are there like OpenID, OAuth connector. So using these kind of libraries, yes, you can write APIs, but AWS Cognito has made our job a lot more easy. Create a directory here, and you can also set multi-factor authentication and verification. You can assign policies to the users. How do you create a user pool? Step through settings. Let us say review default. Pool cannot be, this is my identity pool, user identity pool. Now, required attributes. So if the registered person is providing email, this email is mandatory. Then yes, email is there. You can edit this. Email, phone number, email or phone number, right? So you can ask from the users to provide a username, and then verification you can do by email address and phone number. And other things, attributes. See what you want in this section, what information you are expecting from the user. So here in this portal, just company name, phone number, email, and location. In certain cases, you can ask their picture, their region, that is location, a preferred username, gender, local, middle name. So to accept all these things from the users, you can create an registration form, and based on this, all will be stored in your identity pool. Next step, what password strength? So you're asking user to set a password. What is the password strength? Next step, do you want to enable multi-factor authentication? Two-step verification, multi-factor authentication. You can generate OTPs using that, or you can bring other devices, Geneve devices, where a digital code will get generated. So you can set multi-factor authentication, or it's optional. How will we able to recover their account? Right, we are saving the information of registered users. Suppose the registered user has lost his credentials. Now he has to recover his account. How he can recover his account? Email, phone, or any other thing? Which attributes do you want to verify? Email, phone number, all these things you can choose again. For forgotten passwords. So do you send a link to reset password to email, phone number, or any other thing? Or no verification? Without any verification, they can reset password. So new role name. Here we are giving SMS role. So you are currently in Sandbox environment for SMS messages. In order to send messages, go to SNS and follow instructions. So here you can integrate your SNS service. We already know what SNS to push emails or SMS or to push message notifications to any HTTP endpoint. You can use SNS. We know this. Okay, I acknowledge to proceed. So let us go to next step. So SES region, since we are setting email, let us say Virginia is our SES region, simple email service. And from where it has to go. So set a default mail. Usually when you try to reset password or when you are registering with any website, you will get confirmation mails. If you want to reset password, you will get a reset mails. Usually you will say that no reply mails, you should not send back reply to those mails, right? So where they are coming from, they are all automated. Services like SES will send those messages. So from which email you wish to send, push these emails to the registered users. From email address ARN, let's say default. Let us say Srija 360 digit MG is the default mail. Reply to email address. We'll leave it. So no use Cognito. Do you want to send emails through Amazon SES or Cognito? Let us use Cognito. If you want to customize your email, say for certain emails you can see HTML. If you click, the email appears like a HTML document. It will have a header. It will have different sizes of say like this. So this is a different size and it is bold, and the below text is not, it's a lower size, and it is a plain text. So these kind of variations, and also colors, like how you write a HTML code. Certain emails, especially promotional emails, we'll see they are not plain emails. They'll appear like a HTML web pages. So if you want to customize your email like that, yes, you can verify that. You can customize that. You can choose or send a code. Sorry, this is for email verification. And here you can also set that format by entering the code. So customize your email. We will say code. Verify the code. You can set a code over here. Sending verification codes. We know all these procedure. So if you forgot password, you want to log into the web page. So using verification code, you can verify. Or if you are registering for the first time, then there will be a verification code to your phone or email. So all these things. So next step. Do you want to remember user devices? Always, let's say. Then it requires multi-factor. So let's say no. Next step. Add an app client. If you expect Android users, then add app client. Android, iOS users. So let's say next step. Okay, we cannot skip this. Yeah, we can skip this. No need to register app clients. Or you can register clients if you know client devices. But we are not sure what client devices users might be using. So we can skip this, or app clients. So you have an Android application, iOS application. So then add app client. Do you want to customize workflows with triggers? Right. User is changing the data, giving some data. And when the data comes from the user side, what you wish to do? Trigger some MFM messages, that is sending OTPs like that, two-step verification, or trigger Lambda function. Sorry for that. Yeah. So here you can invoke Lambda functions simply. Lambda functions for post authentication, auth challenge, for authentication. So you can invoke Lambda functions, various Lambda functions for token generation. Next step, create. You didn't got any mail. Go to user tools. Cannot configure from email for default email configurations. So let us edit this. Put it as SES. Save changes. Email address here, and let us go to SES service. SES, simple email service. And here, let us verify a new email. ng.com. Verify this email address. Close. And then I'll get confirmation. And then we'll go to SES console. Refresh it. See, this is the ARN. Come back to user tools. ARN is by default. Verify NSC's identity. Verified. Status is verified, but I am not able to give ARN here. It is default. Let me refresh. It's not appearing in the drop down. Sorry, it has to be Sydney. Sydney is not there. Okay. SCS region either has to be Virginia, Oregon, or Ireland. So I have to create an SES. So I have created this SES in Sydney. Let us change to Virginia. It's done. Now let us go refresh the page and let us check here. Now it is there. And .com. So no reply. Use SES service. Save changes. Let us call it as registered users. Create. Right now I have a user pool. Registered users user pool, and same we can create identity pools, and these identity pools grant like other third party web applications. If you say Amazon, Facebook, Google, right? So if you want to manage identities of those third party software applications, then manage identity pools. Give any app name which you wish to allow that app name, and other things are authentication providers, right? So you need that. Say, let's say my app name. enable access to unauthenticated identities also. See here, you can see. This is what identity pools allows us to do. These are authentication providers. Say user, if he is registering by giving all the details, you can add just, sorry, yes, there is disturbance from outside. Just give me a minute. Yes. See, authentication providers, Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Google Plus, and if you want to bring other OpenID connectors, SAML or custom applications from where you are granting authenticated permission to users, you can add in here. So it's a Cognito one, and if you want Amazon, give Amazon app ID. Apple app ID, Facebook, Google, same thing, Google Plus, Google Client ID. Right, so these things. So that is AWS Cognito. AWS Cognito is a service which allows, which provides authentication, which allows access to users. Simply, so you are granting permission to users to use some of your services. So where your services are deployed in AWS, right? To make use of other services in the AWS, say for example, database or S3 bucket, you say OTT platform. Now what OTT platform, the paid users has to register, and then they have to use the S3 content. The videos are stored in S3. So they'll register, then when they register, there will be a user pool created for them, and all the user pool identities can access services that are there in the AWS. And the S3 has this video stream, and these using the user pool authentication, user can request for S3 content. S3 content is a video. You can apply the same thing some with EC2 instances or other some services, ECS, your Elastic Container System, whatever service your web application is using, you can use Cognito. And AWS provides a lot of uh, information, architectural information, information related to their services through AWS white papers. So let us look into few architectural patterns. And based on the sector also you can select. Let's say media and entertainment. Here, video on demand on AWS Foundation. Let us look into this. Here, the source is S3, and they're using CloudFront, Amazon Simple Notification Service. This particular architecture is a simple one. This reference architecture, see, this reference implementation automatically provisions AWS services necessary to build, scale, ingest, stores, process, and delivers video content. And you can deploy this with AWS. So content source will be S3, and there is a Lambda function. And when some S3 content comes, there will be a S3 lambda trigger. This is S3 lambda trigger, and this S3 lambda trigger will push that to elemental media convert. And then there is S3 destination. So someone is putting the video here, and that has to go to S3 on the trigger of lambda. And there is CloudFront, where users can access via CloudFront. And here we have CloudWatch, and CloudWatch has lambda trigger. When certain job is complete, a notification has to come, like something like elemental conversion. What it does, converts media data, AWS elemental conversion. See, elemental appliances and servers. This is a media conversion tool. So this architecture, when media is converted, it will push that to CloudWatch. We know CloudWatch log groups. So if you opt for CloudWatch log groups, there is a log group, lambda will get triggered, and this lambda will push a SNS notification. You will get a SNS notification once conversion is done. Simple. So this is one simple architecture. And there are a lot more: building media and entertainment predictive analytics solution. So you can go through this. And also, let's say transportation and logistic. We will see where Cognito is used. So let's say Internet of Things. Or front-end web and mobile communication. So here, obviously, we have to use Cognito. This is mobile apps for location-based engagement. So here there is web app, mobile app, and there is AWS Amplify. So let's see what AWS Amplify does. It's a framework and tools app services for developers. So this is the easiest way to develop mobile and web applications that scale. So since it's coming from mobile application, so we have AWS Amplify, AWS App Sync, DynamoDB, Lambda function again. So whenever Lambda is there, you are invoking or triggering this Lambda function when certain event occurs in Amazon Event Bridge. So Amazon Event Bridge is a part of CloudWatch. So we have talked about events. So all these things. So let us check here also. Cognito is not there. So these are reference architectures. While preparing for exam, especially since solution architect job role is creating architectures, and all exam questions will be scenario based questions. You will be given a scenario and they will ask you to choose the best option for the given scenario. So it's better to go through the AWS white papers, and there will be architectural patterns for various domains. So you can see various domains here. So technical guides, compliance guides, let's say reference architecture diagram. So this is some travel and hospitality data mesh. Video on demand. Yeah, we already checked this. So go through these architectural frameworks and you'll get to know how and actually the services which we talked about, how you can relate each one service with other service. And it will also be helps you a lot while preparing for the exam, and also go through the assignments. Try to complete the assignments. They are there in LMS. And we will discuss about data migration on our Monday's class. Since I don't have this VM box, so let us talk about the data migration later. And I'll also walk you through on how to book exam for AWS certification. Let me open my drive. So here, these days, it's a proctor online examination. Previously, how AWS used to, before pandemic, you need to book a slot and visit near a data center, and you have to appear there physically and write the exam. And it's online exam. There will be around 60 questions. All questions, most of them will be scenario based questions. Right, and the scenarios related to designing resilient architectures, cost optimization, security, these things. Um, they will give you a scenario and ask to choose a best suited option. And the time will be around 3 hours for those 60 questions. And after pandemic, and in this pandemic, the exams had been online. They are conducting online proctor examinations. And how to book for the online proctor examination. So you can go through this. I think this Word document or PDF will be available in LMS. So here, this is the link, AWS training certification. Let us click on this. Copy this. Sign in. You have to create account here. Where? Let me go here once again. In aws.trainings. So create account there. So this is how it appears. You can see you can schedule exam, and you can, this is your profile information, and then upcoming exams, previous exams, achieved certifications, and then benefits. Right, benefits when you pay for certification exam. So some benefits AWS provides, like store access, practice exams, practice exam vouchers. So these kind of things. And let us book an exam slot. Go to home, schedule a new exam. And upcoming exams. and schedule with PSI View. View is the software which is providing this your Proctor online examination. So using this View, you have to log in View, and on the other side, you have to keep your webcam on always, of course. And on the other side, you will be monitoring. So they will ask you to submit all your details. So let us see. Let us schedule an exam here. AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate. On November 2, the slot is available, and there are no slots before that. For SysOps, it's July 27, 2021. So let us go with this. It's AA02. Here, you can say schedule with PSI or PSNV. So it's nothing but the third party application which is providing the software where you can log in and write exam. That's it. You can schedule with PSI or schedule with View. Anything is fine. You can go with anything. You have been logged in. So here, do you want to take your exam at test center? So in last year, there is no option of test center. I think they have recent times. They have added test center. Test center online, both are available now. So let us choose online at my home or office. Or if you want to say test center, click on next. We will see both test center. Next, agree. Which language? English. Next. Okay, next. So for us all associate certifications, it's $150. And here is my exam centers: Vast Technologies, Data Cyber Solutions. So all these things. Choose one center and book a slot, pay and book. So this is how you can book at test center. And coming to online Proctor exam, schedule a new exam. AWS Solution Architect Associate. Schedule with Pearson View. This time, say we will opt for online exam. So here there are these steps to prepare for exam. If it is test center, you have to carry your photo ID and be at the test center at expected time. For online exam, you need a computer, testing space. The room should be distraction free, private space. Photo ID and etc. Then next. Okay, all these are policies. Keep a check mark over there. Go through them. Agree. Let me go back. See, you should understand that all personal items must be stored out of reach. You should not bring any equipment, bags, briefcases, purses should not be there nearby. They should not appear in your webcam at least. And also, you will not be permitted to use scratch paper, anything like that, notes, all these are not allowed. Speaking, mumbling with the proctor is not allowed. Okay, food and beverages are allowed. And before the examination, half an hour before or say 15 to 30 minutes before, you have to log into this PU software to for your examination. And in this process, they will ask you to click photographs of your room, 4 sides of your room, your photograph, your identification, photo identity photograph, you have to submit. Then they will let you in for online proctored exam. So let's say agree. So this is a final step, and we know after this what happens. Choose the language, pay, and book a slot. Next. For online proctored examination, they'll send you a test. Why? Because this is a, as I said, the software application. To test the software application on your local laptop, they'll send you a link before day. Test it. And before the examination, as I said, you have to submit all the photographs related to your room, your photographs, and then your photo identity photographs, all these things, ID proof photographs, and that's it. So next step is pay and book a slot. So that's how you book an exam with AWS. And I recommend after this, do vigorous lab. If you want to appear for examination, at least 3 months of preparation. You need at least 3 months of preparation. Why? Because as I said, more scenario based questions will be there, and cutoff percentage is 70%. So 70% is cutoff percentage. So and then go through white papers, and sample papers are available in LMS. And I think Monday is our last class. I'll also provide some links, open source links, where you can go through previous AWS papers, and some samples are there in our LMS too. Go through them before examination while preparing for examination. And then coming back to our console, we have talked about all these services. We have covered the content, most of the content related to SAA 02. And previously the certification is called as SAA 01. And in SAA 02, they have changed the name. It's a new version. And also they have added few content. Like data migration is not there in previous solution architect certification. So they have added a few content also. And yeah, go through white papers. You'll come to know about the services which we have not discussed in class. Why? Because they are not related to syllabus. But as a solution architect, it will be helpful for your interviews. Like media services, we have not talked about media services. It is not relevant to SAA 02, but knowledge of it will be helpful. Same thing with Internet of Things. We have talked about workspaces, and there are other AppStream WorkLink which provide same desktop as a service. And yeah, so on Monday's class, we will talk about migration and transfer, about Migration Hub. And all these are used for data migration. Migration from your on-prem to AWS. Migration Hub is there. And Snow family we already discussed. If you want to migrate your data into S3, and we are talking about petabytes of data. If it is terabytes of data, you can easily move it to cloud. And the days were gone where we call terabytes of data is huge. Now data has become petabytes. Now discussion is about petabytes of data. Suppose your data is in petabytes, then you can request for no phones, no mobiles, no devices, where they'll send a physical device. Or if data is so huge on your on premises, then they'll send a truck where this hardware will be there. They'll come in person and transfer all your data and store in S3, Snow Family. AWS Transfer Family is there. AWS Transfer Family is for your network attached storage. We already discussed this. You can transfer. Not only for that, is SFTP, FTPS, and FTP kind of support. If you have a FTP server, say for example, now you can use AWS Transfer Family and migrate all these servers here. Server migration is for bringing your servers. If you have a virtual, say VM on your local laptop, or your organization is using a virtual VM, Ubuntu, Windows, whatever it is, virtual servers, using server migration, you can bring them and copy into EC2. Same thing with database. Your local databases can be migrated and copied into the RDS or Amazon Aurora. And AWS Discovery Service, we already talked about it. Discovery Service will discover on-premises applications, and it will validate whether it has all the dependencies. Your application runs on your laptop. Your on-prem applications runs on your data center. All the necessary dependencies you have arranged there, provisioned there in your on-prem data center. Now, if you are migrating your application to cloud, we don't know whether it works or not. You have to arrange dependencies, schematics, everything will be will not be same like your on-prem data center. So application discovery service will discover the services which you need to migrate. Not only discovering, it validates. After migrating, the service has to run on cloud. It validates whether you can run or not. If is there any dependencies, it will suggest you based on that recommendations. You can install that dependency, modify your application suitable to cloud environment. Okay, and also we'll do hands-on related to this. We will try to have one virtual box, and then that virtual box instance, that virtual box computer, we will try to migrate to migrate to EC2 using server migration service. So we'll discuss this part on Monday. Okay, then see you on Monday. How to submit assignments. Assignments, you have to submit screenshots. Go through the assignments. We will also discuss about assignments on Monday. You have to perform the hands-on, and related screenshots has to be there in PDF format. So PDF format is recommended, or Word or PDF, sorry. Go through them once. We will also discuss about assignments on our Monday's class. Okay, any doubts? Okay, then see you on Monday.